Hi, you are watching. The story begins inside an abundant rainfall that has created this giant tree forest, where the rich wood and the fruits are the main source of income for the surrounding villages. But in the depths of the forest, huge black shadows are often seen, just like a one-armed monster, who is towering an adventurer that wants to have a fair duel with him. And the adventurer was full of spirit to face him even if he is already exhausted. Still, he knows his cheeks will be clapped if he didn't take this seriously, so he decided to bet everything on this last move. So when the one-armed beast used its ultimate move, and lunged his body towards him, in half a second he jumped to avoid the attack, and because it was such a massive attack, the adventurer made use of the smoke to take this opportunity to get close, and then activate the combo skill of sound step and cross-pull blade slash, to instantly kill the motherfucker in front of him. And with that, he successfully defeated an elite boss by himself, and he was praising himself of how brilliant of a genius he was. Surprisingly, the elite boss dropped a magnificent loot, the heavy sword it was using, and it actually has an advanced attribute that lowers 5 level requirements, in which he felt so lucky to be able to get such a weapon on the first day of the launch of the server. And with it, he can definitely be on the level and combat ability ranking. And as he was looking at his newfound weapon, a system fairy appeared, congratulating him for obtaining such a strong weapon, which the adventurer was glad. And since she appeared, he asks if there are any news that may catch his attention, to which she informs him that there is a limited time event that have been activated, and it seems like a limited time rare boss, named the Blood Moon Walker, has spawned in the giant forest, and defeating it will reward them a rare equipment and a massive amount of experience. With this news, the adventurer couldn't contain his smile, as this was what he wanted all along, and even though it should have some difficulty, he was excited since he can test out his newly acquired sword. A few moments later, as they were closing in on their target, the system fairy informed the adventurer that it sensed a large number of players heading towards the boss, so she suggested that they need to hurry, or other players will get there first, which the adventurer also felt the same way, but he is having a headache with all these trees everywhere. Suddenly, a purple light shined through the forest just up ahead, and this could only mean that the boss was defeated already, and it dropped purple great equipment. With this, the adventurer hurriedly follows the light, because even if it's an equipment that a warrior cannot use, he can sell it for thousands of gold. With that, he reached his destination, and upon closer inspection, it wasn't only one equipment, but a quite hefty amount of it, and the purple great equipment is in the center of it. With such an amazing sight, any adventurers will be thrilled to take them all, and because the adventurer didn't see anyone, he concluded that he was just lucky that everyone perished with the boss, so he was about to grab the items, and was feeling like the protagonist of the story. However, his celebration was short-lived, as his neck was sliced open by an unknown entity that he didn't even see coming because of how fast it was. With that, he could only look at his newly acquired sword being dropped from his inventory, as he fades away, and it seems the boss was well and alive, and counted that it has killed 418 players. Soon after, a group of adventurers sprinted towards the boss, in high spirit, expecting to kill the boss with their own hands, and get a hand on the loot that it may drop. And because there are only 4 hours until the limited time event ends, they are all going all out in this attack. However, little did they know, this particular boss is built different, as it was specifically made to kill Mother Flipper who doesn't know their place. So as they got close, the boss slipped right through them like butter, while instantly clapping their cheeks one after the other. Even the chunky guy wasn't safe from getting sliced up. Seeing that this boss seems quite strong, the elf wasn't planning to get her ass handed to her, so she devised a plan with the others, suggesting that they surround the boss and attack together. And because they are all ducking simps, they follow through the plan and charge first, while the elf was in the rear. But to their surprise, the boss just sliced them up with ease, and he made sure to also kill the one who made the plan in the first place. With this, the surviving players found out that their attempts were insignificant, so they take all the bullshit they can master out of their ass and attempt to escape, because they know that if they were killed here, their equipment and experience will be dropped. Still, the boss wasn't willing to let them go, and so he killed them all, which he counted that he managed to kill 444 players. However, it was still way too less than he expected, and he could only count on the system fairy to get the adventurers to come to him. But before all of this happened, 3 days ago, one of the executives of the company is dealing with a problematic employee named Lu Li, telling Li how disappointed he was in him, because he knows all too well that with Li's ability, he could have obtained the company's equity this year and become a shareholder, and therefore, his future would have been limitless, but instead, he still insists on investigating that missing case, which will damage the company's interests and reputation. So, the board of directors have made a decision to terminate him immediately. Unexpectedly, Li wasn't fazed by this decision for one bit, as he accepted it calmly, and left the place to go handle the resignation procedures, which the man was speechless. Still, he couldn't help himself but sigh, as he just lost a talented individual under his wing, and now that Li is gone, he asked Secretary Wang to find someone to replace Li. However, the secretary wasn't really paying attention to his words, as she was also affected by the sudden termination of Li, because she chose this position in the first place so that she can see Li several times a day. But now that Li has left, she is considering to resign as well. A few moments later, Li has completely left his work, and was now outside of the building, but now he is closer to the disappearance of his brother, since he finally found evidence about his case. With this, he is more than sure that he will find him soon. Unexpectedly, Li has the bloodline of Zoro, as he seems to have lost his way, since he is also directionally challenged, who can't differentiate east, south, west, north, and therefore he was now clueless as to where exactly the direction of his house, and this wasn't a problem of his before, since he belongs to a breed of workaholics who only goes home once every 2 years. Meanwhile, as Li tries his best finding his way home, a lover's quarrel was going on in his house, because the girl found out that his man had another bitch besides her, and not only that, there were 68 of them, which means this guy is working overtime being a menace to society. Still, the guy tries to calm her girl down, however she was already fed up with his lies. Luckily for him, this girl wasn't crazy like that, so she just left the place in tears instead of cutting off his wiener in revenge. Still, the guy has the audacity to get on his knees and use his acting skills to try to convince the girl that he loves her. Meanwhile, Li finally arrived at their house, but was speechless seeing how big of a douche his little brother was. Still, he was kind enough to ask him if he needed space, which he clearly didn't need, as he immediately changed his mood as if nothing happened at all, and welcomed his brother with a smile, which Li was happy that his brother was fine, but he couldn't help himself but notice how nasty the place was, seeing the undergarments of women all over the place. So he reminds his little brother that he has to pay attention to household hygiene when he lives alone, and show some restraint in his private life, to which he just laughs it off, and explains that he is just lonely since he just left him all alone in the house. So to prevent such thing to happen again, this time he should accompany him for a few more days, and not leave in a hurry just like the last time, to which Li clarified that he was about to do just that, because now he found evidence on their big brother's case. This news came to a surprise, which made his little brother happy. Still, it wasn't the time to celebrate yet, so he instantly changed his demeanor to a more serious one, as he tells his brother Li that the device he asked him to prepare is ready, and tonight at midnight is the time of Fate Fantasy Moon's official server launch, and they were looking forward for this, since they speculated that the reason why their big brother went missing should be related to this game. And just like that, the moment arrived, and so they got their new drip, looking hella fire, and was ready to face the challenges up ahead. And as soon as they entered the game, a system fairy appeared, and introduced herself as the Game Assist Fairy, and they can call her Double C for short, and wish for them a happy journey in this virtual reality. As the game is about to begin, and as the game synchronized with their brain, a character was created successfully. With this, he was teleported to the center of a village where the noob sat. Still, he couldn't help himself but appreciate how lifelike the game was, but his trains of thought was disrupted by his brother calling out to him, and as expected of him, he already rizzed up someone the second he appeared on the game, and asks his brother to form a party to do a mission together, which his brother Li refused since he is not horny as him, and has more important mission to do first. And just like that, they parted ways, and now that he was alone, he called out Double C to open the special redemption code window, and enter the code he specifically put in the game, that only he could know, and with that, he received 3 messages from the system. Meanwhile, Double C was flabbergasted at what she saw, as her eyes filled with confusion, since she couldn't identify these items his master had just received. so she asked him what it was, to which he clarified to her that these are the cheats he made, which instantly shocked Double C as she was programmed to put an end to cheating. Still, she politely asks her master first to stop the operation quickly, otherwise his account will be banned permanently. However, Lee wasn't fazed by these at all, since he already hid these things in the underlying code of the game, so the system can't find out. Even if someone wants to find it manually, it will take half a year, so banning him will be impossible. And just like that, he received the first item, named the Omniscient Bracelet, and the stats this item gave is not a joke, and the only requirement to equip this is to be level 10 and above. Not only that, this item has a special attribute, and that is activated when a character levels up. The item will level up 2 for every 10 levels, and this item quality can be upgraded once, which triggers a hidden attribute, and that is for every time equipment quality upgrades. It can obtain a random profession specialized skill. However, he knows that this bracelet is too extravagant looking for his current homeless drip aesthetic, so he asks Double C to help him hide this equipment. And then, he went to open the other mail, which gave him an item named Random Achievement Tome, which give him an opportunity for every 10 levels according to the character's event, and generate a random achievement mission and obtain random reward upon completion. And this item even has a hidden attribute that even Lee doesn't know, since he only entered the command for a powerful prop and left the rest for the AI to generate. And then he opens up the third mail, which has the most crucial item of them all, and he worked company in the Fate for 2 years to get this, because when his big brother was doing beta testing, the hidden plot he got was because of this item, so he concludes that this should be the source of Big Brother's disappearance, and if anything happens to him, the evidence will be cut off here, since he can't let anything happen to his little brother off-A. With this conviction, he opens the scroll named Hell Azura's Invitation, a scroll that lets him change his profession to an Azura, and will trigger a new plot after changing, which he accepts instantly, and after confirming, his heart immediately started to ache like crazy. And as soon as he opened his eyes, he was now standing in a place full of blood, and 4 robed skeletons appear on all sides, while the crescent moon was all blood red. And then the skeleton chant a mysterious language that he couldn't understand, and then they penetrated him simultaneously, while he was confused as to what is going on, and was wondering why it was happening, since he remembers he didn't design such a plot, and the pain he is feeling right now is way too real for a game. Then he died, and was now falling of deep inside the system, while errors filled the place. Soon after, all he could see was darkness, which made him assume that the game crashed, so he commands the system to exit the game, but to his surprise, the system wouldn't let him exit the game, as it couldn't detect his data source, which made him frantic, as he commands the system to try again, but still he wasn't allowed to. The next thing he knew, he came out of the ground and was now a different entity than he expected, so now he was asking himself why he become a skeleton, since he should be an Azura race instead. And what is more confusing is that he doesn't have an idea where the hell he was, so he got up from his grave, and started to look around, but to his surprise, a pathetic-looking monster with a glowing staff called out to him, calling him his servant, and has a huge grin on his face seeing that his summoning ritual has succeeded, and looking at it, it seems like it is an epic rank boss. Still it was an NPC to Lee, so he tried talking to it, and asks where he was, which surprised the monster, as he didn't expect that his summon could speak. This could only mean that he summoned a rare skeleton guard, but since he didn't respond, Lee assumed that he was useless, so he decided to go find someone else to ask to. However, this action of his only made the monster pissed off, since he expected his summon to approach and kneel to him. However, he couldn't let such a disrespect slide, so it seems like his newfound servant need to be whipped first in order to become an obedient one. Otherwise, it will act arrogant against him. With this, he activated his hell chain, and chained up the mother flipper in front of him, which surprised Lee, as he doesn't have a clue what was happening. But as soon as he saw the monster let out a massive aura pointing towards him, he knew his ass was going to be sent to the Shadow Realm. Luckily for him, before his ass got clapped, a huge entity smashed the monster from where he stood, freeing Lee from his chains, and as he looked up, shock filled his face as he couldn't believe how big the monster was. With this, he was now wondering if he entered the wrong map, and how does he even play the game with such a terrible conditions. Realizing that he doesn't have any choice, He tries to call out Double C in hopes that Double C is still with him. Luckily for him, Double C was still connected to his character, and so Double C explains to him that he is currently in the land of pure darkness. It is the birthplace of all the high-level bosses in the game, the most dangerous place. Now that things have been a little bit clearer, he asks Double C for an idea on how to play the game in such a plot, and if there is a place that he can do missions. So Double C checked for all the information she could gather about this place. Soon after, she found out that there is a mission point located 100 kilometers away from where they stood, so she asks her master to come with her. Still, 100 kilometers is no joke, and they could only travel on feet. So as they climb a mountain, Lee asks if there is no other way to get there, to which she clarifies to him that there is. But this is the shortest route, so if he takes the other routes, the distance will increase by 4 times. So he doesn't have a choice but to stick with Double C's recommendation. With this, they even have to travel on a log, while leviathans chase them on waters, which Lee was questioning Double C what road are they taking, but her words of encouragement keep him going, and luckily Afe could still send messages to him, so it helped him get distracted from the insanity that's happening around him, telling him about the story of his mission, and how he has reached level 5 already, and he even got himself a green grade staff. And knowing his brother well, he expected that he got to level up much higher than him, so he asks him what dungeon was he now on, and what level he reached now, but to his surprise, his brother was still on level 1, which surprised Afe, so he tells him words of encouragement, but Lee couldn't be bothered to hear the end of it, because now he is being chased by another humongous mother flipper that keeps eyeing on him, even though his cake is just made of bones. Fortunately, his will to live helped him get through the challenge he faced, and so he outrun that thing, and the next thing he knew, they finally see where the mission point was located, and even with the distance, they could see entities lining up to enter this huge place, and getting close to it. Double C estimated that it would take approximately 2 hours if they lined up to enter the main gate, but Lee saw that there is another entrance where no one is lining up, so he tells Double C about it, to which she clarifies to him that it is not the planned route. Still, Lee have wasted too much time already, and the route she planned was too rigid, so it really doesn't matter to him now, even if it isn't the conventional way to get in, as long as he can enter the city. With this, they arrived at the red entrance door, which 2 giant boar guards stopped his advances to ask his reason, to which Lee explains that he has something urgent to do, so he asks them if they could let him in, which made the boar guard smile, as he understood that it is normal to have urgent things to do. So he lets the little skeleton to quickly go in, which surprised Lee as this was the easiest thing he encountered after teleporting in this hellhole of a place. So he even thanked the guards for being such an understanding fellow. But little did he know, as soon as he entered, the guards couldn't contain their laugh anymore, as they couldn't believe such a weak monster to be so clueless to enter such a place. And he even thanked them, and now they were even excited to see how he dies in the Cloud Arena, where 9 deaths will occur, and 1 will survive. Soon after, Lee finally saw the light in the end of the tunnel, but as soon as he reached the end, and embraced the light from the other side, he was greeted by the loud voice of the commentator that welcomes him as a contestant, which confused Lee, while they look at his basic information, and to their surprise, he is only a level 1 monster, garnering the attention of everyone, but not in the good way, as they laugh at how pathetic he was. Even the commentator assumed that this little skeleton is just a cannon fodder contestant. However, as a good commentator, he gaslights the crowd, telling them that maybe this little skeleton can show them interesting fights. And now that was all settled, he announced that the Battle Fest officially begins, making the crowd excited, as they look forward to the fight that will unfold in front of them. And just like before, the host and the commenters this time are still their most famous, familiar and favorite duo, the quick-tongued rabbit and the slow turtle, who can't even finish his introduction without the rabbit cutting him off. And even though everyone has heard it many times, but, according to the tradition, they still have to announce the rules, and there are only 3 rules in the Wind Cloud Arena. First, the matches will be conducted in a 1 versus 1 arena battle, and the last one standing will be the winner. Second, the arena keeps everything fair, so all contestants' levels will be adjusted to the level of the lowest level contestant, which the minimum will be level 10, and only skills within the adjusted level can be used, and the equipment will be provided by the Wind Cloud Arena. Third, unless the opponent admits defeat, the only way for the contestant to win is to kill their opponent. As for the rewards, the winner of this Wind Cloud Battle Arena will receive 5,000 EXP, and an epic grade weapon corresponding to their level. With this, they adjusted the levels of all contestants, which will be the lowest level battle recorded in the history of the Wind Cloud Battle Arena. And just like that, they were all level 10, and it seems like the other contestant wasn't fond of this outcome. Because of the rules, even their skills were lessened, and one of the contestant couldn't even use their ultimate move they just learned. So everyone was pissed off by this little skeleton that put them in such a disadvantage, and now they are planning to kill him if they got the chance, and warn him not to think he had a chance, since they are confident in their experience. With this, Lee realized that he messed up big time, and now he regretted that he didn't listen to Double C and just queued up in line. Fortunately for him, since he has reached level 10, even if it was temporary, the system deemed it to be valid, so he could now choose his starting profession, which showed him several professions to choose from, that even he was overwhelmed by the choices. But remembering the days he used to play with his brothers, he remembered that they always said he was suited to play the assassin, so he concluded that it would be the best choice. So he became an assassin, and a new drip that comes with it. And seeing that most of the contestants have adapted to their level, the commentator decided to go with the next step, giving them their designated equipment. With this, Lee realized that this might actually not be such a bad place to start, and if he can't win, he can just surrender immediately, and it wouldn't be a problem for him. But before they could start the competition, the rabbit went next to announce the most important announcement for today, and that is to welcome their specially invited dream instructors, because in this competition, those who perform exceptionally well may have the chance to receive their guidance. And the person on the left is the Blood Moon City's famous Lord Zhuanghui Shui, the Blood Moon City's Northern Hall Master, who is in charge of the wars of Blood Moon City and strategic deployment. And half of the Blood Moon City's combat ability is under Lord Zhuang's Northern Blood Moon Hall, and 70% of the young generation's experts are Lord Zhuang's disciples, and if one can catch the attention of Lord Zhuang, it would be a great honor which will lead to a bright future and a chance to reach the pinnacle of life. This thrilled the audience, as they shout for his name, and try to get his attention. Then the rabbit continues, introducing the other important guest, the Blood Moon City's #1 beauty, Lord Wu Yu, the Blood Moon City's Eastern Hall Master, in charge of Blood Moon City's resource distribution and the Blood Pool Dungeon. And looking at her, she looks hella fine. Even my man the rabbit couldn't deny Lord Wu Yu's beauty, which I personally agree. At the same time, her strength is unfathomable. But Lady Wu Yu has very strict criteria for selecting her disciples. Therefore, so far, Lord Wu Yu has only accepted one disciple. And Lord Wu Yu's one and only disciples is the unparalleled genius who has achieved 10 consecutive victories in the Wind Cloud Arena and shocked the Blood Moon City, Han Xiao. Her appearance also excited the audience, but knowing how ruthless and short-tempered she was, they wouldn't even dare to shout her name out loud. But on the other hand, Li was in shock to hear the name of Wu Yu disciple, Han Xiao, the name of his big brother. With this, he finally have another clue about his brother, and the woman named Wu Yu must know something, so he was thinking of a way to get close to her, but since he openly kept looking at her, he unintentionally caught the attention of Wu Yu, but in a bad way, since she was now thinking if she should just crush him on the spot. Luckily for him, she decided to let it slide, since Zhuang is right beside her, and he may manipulate the decision if she does something quite stupid. But because of this, she was now contemplating on killing Zhuang first. But with everything out of the way, the rabbit announces the start of the competition, so all their attentions were diverted towards the match. And their first match starts with the most highly anticipated Wind Cloud Arena contestant, Blood Claw, from the Blood War Lion clan. Born with an epic grade bloodline, the Blood War Lion clan naturally excels in battle, and Blood Claw is the representative of the new generation of Blood War Lion clan. And his claws are invincible and incredibly sharp, and he is widely recognized as the favorite contestant to win this competition. And just as the rabbit had just said, with one swing of his claw, Blood Claw won with an overwhelming dominance. So, they went on to the next match, with the zombie swordsman, Bei Lei, from the Great Sword Sect, which is one of the newly emerging factions in the South Moon Hall. And Bei Lei is the vice captain of the Great Sword Sect, He is said to be quite famous in the South Moon Hall. His sword is fast, precise, and ruthless. There have been countless experts who have lost their lives to him, and as expected, he also won quite easily. And they went on to the third match, and the winner is the dual-blade demon, kihwa, and he is from the faraway wild, and he fought as the Blood Moon City. His combat ability is not to be underestimated, but what surprised them is the next round, as they didn't expect that the cannon fodder contestant actually won. Even some of the audience was baffled as they couldn't even see how he managed to defeat his opponent, because of how fast it was. With this, things just got interesting. So, the rabbit decided to quickly begin the exciting and thrilling second round of the quarterfinals of the Wind Cloud Arena Battle Fest. With that, the first match was with Lee versus the dual-blade demon kihwa. But even before they start fighting, kihwa told Lee to just surrender, since he despises killing weaklings like him anyway, and a little skeleton like him is not qualified to make him attack. But Lee was just there standing menacingly, as he let this idiot yap his mouth for the last time. Meanwhile, on the other side of the game, Afe has wiped out all the goblins with his fire bolt, rizzing the girls besides him, and was being the main character of his own story. But even with all the praise he got from the girls beside him, he was still convinced that if they see his second brother, they will know what amazing truly means. A true brotherly admiration from him doesn't change, as he wonder what his second brother doing right now, and if everything is going smoothly for him. And just like what he thinks of his brother, he was now facing his opponent without a single fear in his bones, as he approached him calmly, surprising everyone, as they now realized that this cannon fodder indeed has a backbone. But still, kihwa wasn't taking him seriously, as he looks down on Lee, and plans to end this match quickly. So he used his burst slash to instantly appear in front of Lee while striking a devastating attack. But to his surprise, Lee manages to dodge it. Still, he refused to acknowledge Lee's skill, so he thinks that he is just lucky to dodge it, and therefore he used the same attack twice, which Lee dodges it again. So kihwa decided to use his rending void skill to change things up, but somehow, Lee dodges it again without trouble, surprising everyone that witnessed it, as they wonder how he just keep doing it. But little did they know, Lee is goat-ted with battle IQ, so he already managed to calculate the length of his enemy's arm, with the length of his weapon, and by subtracting his enemy's palm grip length, he concludes that his opponent's maximum swing radius would be less than 2 meters, and as long as he can maintain this 2-meter distance between them, the probability of him getting hit by his attacks is low. But still, he needed to be aware of other skills such as weapon throw, or long-ranged skill, and so he also calculated that the enemy's skill has a half-second cast time, and the skill's flight speed is around 160 kilometers per hour, and with his reaction speed, it isn't hard for him to dodge his attacks. And now that he has created more distance between them, the next move he's most likely going to use is the burst slash skill, which is a straight-line charge skill, but during its user's movement, it will momentarily cause the character to become immobilized. So, if he can make use of that moment, he can win. At the same time, the audience was helpful in stirring kihwa's emotions, doubting his skill, since his attack was easily dodged by the cannon fodder. With this, kihwa was now pissed, so he lost his cool, and was now damn serious in killing the little skeleton. And just as Lee expected, he used his burst slash, and so, Lee executed his plans effortlessly, while activating his critical hit skill, to kill kihwa in one blow, surprising kihwa, as he didn't expect that his dream of becoming the Lord of Oblivion would be crushed by a little skeleton. While the crowd goes wild, as they were in shock to witness the cannon fodder become the dark horse in this battle fest, and so they look forward to his performance in the upcoming finale. Even Zhuang thinks that the skeleton is quite interesting. However, this display of skill wasn't enough for Wu Yu, as she assumes that the skeleton is just a little smarter and nothing special. But since he has kept her from being bored, she decided to reward him a bit more time to look at his skills further, while Zhuang was convinced with Wu Yu's words, since it is true that the lowest ranking bloodline will be useless no matter what. And then, they went on to the next match, where everyone was convinced it to be the championship battle, since it is with Blood Claw against the zombie swordsman Beilei. And just like with other contestants, Blood Claw tells Beilei that he should already know it clearly that he is not a match for him. But still, Beilei wasn't fazed by such claims, And even though his bloodline is inferior to him, he was confident that as long as he has his sword in his hand, nothing can stop him. And with such conviction, Bailey used his combination skill called Flowing Dance Leap, which was a combination of the water dance and burst slash, and become 5 times faster than Gear's burst slash, to sever Bloodclaw's head in one attack. And as his blade comes close, Bailey was confident that it would connect, and therefore showing to everyone that bloodline aren't everything. However, he soon realized that he is not that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
As Bloodclaw looked at his blade, and started munching it like the caped Baldy, and now that he made his opponent's blade ineffective, it's his turn to attack, using his dual blazing claw to kill him in one go. And Bloodclaw was an out-of-pocket guy, as he insults his opponent even though he was dead already. And with such outcome, the crowd goes wild, and started chanting his name. Even the rabbit assumes that they are looking at the future champion of the Wind Cloud Arena, without considering the last match. While Zhuang also felt the same, so even though his bloodline isn't pure, he deemed this little lion to be fitting to be nurtured by him, while Wu Yu on the other hand wasn't convinced for one bit, as she deemed this lion not even fit to guard her gates. At the same time, Li realized something wasn't adding up, as he couldn't believe the lion to actually bite through Bailey's weapon. Since the weapons are distributed by the arena, they shouldn't be destroyed so easily, unless, even after the lion's level was reduced to 10, his base level was reduced attributes far exceed the average value. So, it seems like he will have a tough opponent to deal with. However, his train of thought was disrupted by the lion, calling out to him, and unlike what he did to the other contestant, instead of discouraging him, he challenges the little skeleton to come to him, and fight him head-on. Since he haven't had enough fun yet, but this provocation of his didn't affect Li, as he was smart, and if his previous analysis is correct, he is no match for him. But the only way to get close to Wu Yu is to win this competition, so even if he knows he is at a disadvantage, and the commentator is trying to discourage him to forfeit the match, giving up after encountering difficulty is not in his mind, because he wouldn't find his big brother if he would be such a coward. And his brother and Afe are the only family he has left in this world, so they are more important than his life. Therefore, no matter what difficulty he faces, he won't stop. With this, the final match begun, and so the lion was more than happy to insult the little skeleton, as what he expected of a low-ranked creature, a dumb son of a gun that can't even take a slight provocation. But now that he is facing him, he proudly claims that he will treat the little skeleton as a dessert to celebrate his victory, and plans to make his opponent show his desperation and regret to please him till the end. However, his threats didn't amuse Li for one bit, as he just looks at him like dead meat, so he leaped towards the lion, which the lion discerned that his speed is even slower than the swordman before, way too slow in fact, that he just decided to use one hand to stop him. But to his surprise, the little skeleton just dodged it quite easily, and was now behind him. Still, he dodges it. But now he was reminded that this little skeleton was an assassin, and it seems like he was just pretending to caught him off guard. But it doesn't really matter, since he is still a trash in his eyes. So he used his long-ranged skill to counter, but this was also dodged by the little skeleton. With this, the lion wasn't smiling anymore, as he realized that he is fighting with a flea that is just planning to dodge his attack. And what surprised him even more is that he was now bruised by the one he thought was trash, while not even knowing how he managed to do it, so he took it as an insult, an unforgivable act, since he is Bloodclaw, the noble leader of the younger generation of Blood War Lion clan, so it is an insult to be injured by a lowly trash. With such an outcome, he was pissed more than ever, so he activated his skill, the Blood War, which increases strength and critical hit by 20% for 15 seconds, to kill his opponent in the most humiliating way possible. But seeing Bloodclaw use his skills made everyone assume that the cannon fodder is actually on par with Bloodclaw. Even Wu Yu was now intrigued at what this little skeleton will show her next, since it is strange to witness a monster with a low level and bloodline of the lowest caliber to deliver such kind of amusement to her. Then, Bloodclaw started his attack, leaping towards the skeleton, as he drowns him with flurry of attacks, and even though the skeleton manages to block it, he knows that he couldn't keep this for long, since every strike thrown was heavy like a truck, and just as he expected, he lost his balance, and his defense was broken, and so Bloodclaw, use this opportunity to yeet this motherfucker out of existence, while he insult him one more time, telling him to stay where trash belongs. But to his surprise, as soon as he got close, the little skeleton reveals to him that all of this was just an act, and that he was just waiting for him to use his special move, because even though his killing move is very strong, but within half a second, he will be unable to turn around immediately. So the little skeleton used this chance to activate his backstab ability, and teleport behind the enemy, and launch a surprise attack. However, this plan of his could have worked with other contestant, but not with Blood Claw, as he has a skill that doesn't need him to turn around, and that is the Blood Origin skill, Lion Roar. With this, all the enemies within 5 meters will be forcibly immobilized for 1.5 seconds, surprising everyone, even Zhuang. So now he made up his mind to take Blood Claw under his wing, while Wu Yu on the other hand felt it was such a waste, since she finally got interested in a participant for a long time, but she couldn't help it if the little skeleton is unable to survive this, because of a skill issue. And as expected, Blood Claw managed to slice the cannon fodder's hand, and as he steps away, his bones reveal the lack in calcium as it broke in half, and so he also lost his other legs. With this, they are more than sure that the victor was decided, and the only thing left to see is whether the cannon fodder will surrender or stubbornly die on the stage. However, Blood Claw isn't planning on letting the little skeleton live, as he laughs at him while seeing his pathetic state. While the little skeleton, on the other hand, was more than happy to see that things are looking good, because it seems like the fish is about to bite the hook. With this, Blood Claw was trying to think of ways to humiliate the skeleton, such as breaking his bones one by one, or playing with his head like a ball, while Li is just sitting there menacingly, waiting for his opponent to take 3 more steps towards him. And with that, Blood Claw stepped on the little skeleton's dismembered leg to provoke him even more. But little did he know, this is what he was waiting for all along, and he stepped up and throws his dagger in front of Blood Claw, which Blood Claw assumes that it was just a puny attempt of struggle, so he just block it without thinking that much. But little did he knew, the little skeleton was still in control of his other hand, so it manages to throw the dagger, for him to use it while he activates his backstab skill, and with that combination, he severely injured the proud lion with one strike, immediately catching everyone by surprise. And because of how shocking it was, everyone fell silent as they couldn't comprehend what just happened. Luckily for them, they still have another commentator to break off the silence, and since he was being cut off the entire time, he took this opportunity to shine, busting out his magnificent voice, to match the fight he just witnessed, and it has been too damn long since he has last seen such a thrilling comeback. So as the rampaging turtle, he took this as a mission to shed some light to everyone on what happened, and that this was all part of the cannon fodder's plan from the very start. He first displayed his speed advantage, and attacked the strongest while being weak. He then provoked Blood Claw, causing him to get angry, and when Blood Claw got serious, he purposely pretended to be weak, luring Blood Claw to use his ultimate move. But the most amazing part is while everyone thought Blood Claw was the one who severed his arm and leg, it turns out that it was actually Cannon Fodder himself who did it. In the end, when they all thought the Cannon Fodder was doomed, he used the skeleton's resurrection skill, which enables him to have spiritual connection to a fallen skeleton bone for a period of time, and made his ultimate comeback by defeating the stronger opponent despite being weaker. So, even if the little skeleton wasn't pregnant, he delivered, and so the Cannon Fodder will have a new title, the Moon Slayer, and he was now planning to put this lion on a shirt, to prevent future problem, even if Blood Claw already stated that he surrenders. However, this plan of his wasn't in favor of Zhuang since he was thinking of getting Blood Claw under his wings, and so, he stopped Moon Slayer's advances, while knocking him back, and using his skills to delete him from existence, which Moon Slayer was powerless to deflect such an attack. Luckily, his wits had garnered the interest of Wu Yu, and so she also stepped up to save his ass, and used heaven-piercing blast to take revenge on the mother flipper who did this to her precious skeleton. And with such overwhelming display of power, even Zhuang had taken damage from it, and was now yapping his mouth, asking for a reasonable explanation, why she did such a thing, but she doesn't feel the need to explain herself to him, as she just ignored him, and saved the skeleton that took her interest, and tell him that from now on, he belongs to her.
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
Wu Yu was finally done restoring Slayer to his original form, and concluded that everything should be back to normal now, which amazed Slayer because not only did his broken bones healed, but they are now stronger than ever before. But his trains of thought was disrupted by Wu Yu charging up another attack, as she tries to threaten the bastard rabbit and turtle that if the results are not announced soon, she would poke both of them as well. And because they don't want to be a donut-shaped creatures, they appeared immediately after she finished her threat, and announced to everyone the rise of a new star, the champion of the Storm Cloud Arena Tournament, Moon Slayer. And because of this, the system calculated his rewards, and gave him 5,000 experience points, boosting him up to level 15, and he also gained a new passive ability called Shadow Step, which permanently increases his agility by 20%. With such boost, his attributes also risen significantly. He then received his other reward, an epic weapon that suit his level and class, the Bloodstained Blade, which has a special ability that can convert 10% of the damage dealt into self-healing. Even the commentators were surprised to see such a weapon, because having a vampiric attribute is really impressive, since it will be perfect for prolonged battles, and endurance is crucial in the upcoming events. With that settled, Wu Yu wasted no time and got straight to business, and informed her newfound pet that they would now initiate the Storm Cloud Catastrophe, which Slayer was clueless on what it is, since he is a newcomer to the Storm Cloud platform. So he asks to clarify, and the rabbit understood his circumstances, so he did just that, explaining to him that the Stormcloud platform is divided into two parts. The first is the arena battle, which select the champion, and the second part is the Stormcloud catastrophe, which will be triggered right after, making the Stormcloud champion descend into the player's world as a limited time boss. The time limit is 1 hour, and the boss will be tasked with ensuring its survival, while hunting down players as much as possible, to obtain experience and contribution points. And contribution points can be used for mutual trades, exchanging advanced skills and weapons. It can also be used to improve one's position and status. And now that it was clear to Slayer, he was about to initiate the next event. But before he could do that, the sore loser who can't take an L confronted them, because he couldn't believe Wu Yu dared to openly attack him, the Lord of the North Hall. So he angrily asks if she is declaring war against the North Hall. But seeing that she isn't responding to his questions, he threatens her that he will report this incident to the city lord. Still, she continued ignoring him. Unexpectedly, he started insulting her instead, calling her an ambitious, opportunistic chick, and she must be scheming to get rid of him, just so she can take the military resources in his hands, and wanted to rebel. With this, she recognized that staying silent might harm her reputation more than speaking up, so she decided to confront him, and call him out for interrupting the tournament, emphasizing that him interrupting the tournament is a violation of the rules, so he should be punished instead of her. And there is no way a demon like him would be kind-hearted enough to save someone's life. So she suspected that he must have already promised the championship title to the old man from the Bloodclaw family, and this may be closer than the truth than what he was spouting. And he even had the audacity to accuse her of rebelling, when he is the one who is always meddling and playing both sides like a busybody. So, the next time he utters another word, she promises that the next time he goes out to battle, she will cut his military salary first, then halt his military provisions, and she won't even supply him with equipment. With this, he could only shout her name out in anger, as he was well aware that he would be in serious trouble if she chose to follow through with her threats. Meanwhile, the 3 low-level monsters decided to run the hell out of the place, because they know all too well, if these two started fighting, they are the ones who will perish first. Even half the city's people will suffer. So before that happens, Slayer asks them to take him to participate in the next event, opening a portal in front of him. But even before he could enter it, Wu Yu warns him to not embarrass her, so if he can't kill 1,000 people, he shouldn't bother to come back to her. A few moments later, as he descends to the player's world, his random achievement manual triggered. Seeing that he exceeded level 10 already, it generated a random mission for him, and that mission is the one that Wu Yu ordered him to do, requiring him to kill 1,000 players. Luckily for him, he doesn't have to find players that hard, since the system announced to all the players of his arrival, while it encourages them to kill him on the spot. He even spawned in front of a fodder-looking players, who doesn't have clothes on. which can only mean one thing: their cheeks are ready for some ass whooping. But before he could start, another one of his cheat item had detected that his level has increased, so it automatically equipped onto him, giving him another boost in attribute, and because its quality improves every 10 levels, he will receive a randomly assigned class-exclusive skill, and he will have a chance to refresh and obtain a new skill for the next time it levels up. And as the random skill distribution was on progress, the 4 bald players has launched an attack from all directions. Still, he dodges their every attack. Soon after, the system finally decided on what to give him: a skill named Hunting Scourgeblade, which enables him to swiftly deliver force slashes to the target, starting at a 110% damage to a 150% damage at the last slash. And if the target is killed by the skill, the slashes will be retained and automatically target a random enemy within 10 meters to continue the attack. And it also has a powerful passive ability, and that is for each enemy killed by this skill, an additional 150% physical damage slash can be added. And because Slayer was smart, he knew exactly how to use this skill at its full potential, so he slashed his way through his opponents, inflicting damage to them significantly, because he knows that as long as he lowers the health of a large number of enemies, and then activating his newfound skill, his hunting proficiency will be doubled, and theoretically, he just unlocked auto-hunting. So, after killing the 4 players, he summoned Double C to ask if other players can see his location, to which she responded that they can, since the system keep on broadcasting his location to all players in real time. With this, he got that black Air Force energy covering his body, as he was fired up more than ever, since he knows that things just got much simpler for him. And so, as the players appeared, he unleashed his unprovoked menace behavior and started penetrating them left and right. And not long after, only the player's weapon remained, and Slayer was now sitting on a branch of the tree, contemplating to move to a new location, since the number and frequency of players gathering are decreasing, and he can't pick up the player's equipment either, so there's no point in staying further. But before he could leave, another ambitious mother flipper appeared. He even got the audacity to think he is the protagonist of the story, and was planning on taking all the weapons to himself. And so Slayer decided to put this idiot where he belongs.
Know your fucking place, trash!
Slicing his windpipe instantly. And just like what was showed before, the number of players he killed increased to 444. But still it wasn't enough, so he decided to search for more players than wait for them. But before he could do that, the interaction with the ambitious player gave him an idea. So he sent Afe the coordinates of his current location, and told him to go by himself, which Afe assumed that his brother is going to treat him, or even give him some items to help his adventures. So he went to the location as fast as he could, but he didn't expect to witness a few hundreds of them, leaving him shocked and disbelief. Somewhere in another part of the forest, a lightning strike pierced up to the sky, and this was because of a single player, defeating an epic boss by herself. And this player is none other than Luna, a Moonlight Knight, who has the title of Dazzling Nova, which can only be attained by reaching the top 100 in the region, and she is now stronger, since she just obtained an epic level bracelet, named the Heart of Resilience, giving her a boost in attribute, and it also has a special ability that has a 20% chance to be triggered if the user is experiencing control attacks, giving her a boost in resistance by 20 points. And while she is just standing menacingly, Slayer was sitting at the top of the tree branch again, while being amazed at this player's skills, since this is the first time he saw a player who can solo an epic level boss. Intrigued by this, he asks Double C to look up information on the Moonlight Knight class. So, she did just that, and showed to him that the Moonlight Knight is a hidden class among swordsmen, possessing balance attributes, and all of the Moonlight Knight's attack has both physical and magical attributes. In summary, it has a low entry requirement, with a high ceiling potential. Meanwhile, Luna has noticed like she was being watched, so she was wondering who it was, but her trains of thought was disrupted by a Humpty Dumpty looking mother flipper trying to scam Luna in order to take the epic item out of her hands and into their pockets. However, Luna isn't stupid either, so instead of wasting their time trying to scam her, she instead proposed to fight it out of her hands instead. However, this ass face still has the audacity to try bullshitting his way through. He even shoot a shot trying to get her number, but she was not having none of his bullshit. so she provoked them to get her loot if they are confident, which the goons didn't hesitate to do just that. But as soon as they were in range, they soon found out that this chick is a baddie not to be messed with, slicing them up like weed, while making a spectacle out of them, as her starlight slash illuminated the place like a star just descended. Now Eggman realized that he had bitten off more than he could chew. Still, he tries to intimidate Luna using his guild's name to get out of his predicament, so if she kills him now, his guild mates will definitely hunt her. However, Luna has zero f***s to give, so she just slices his ugly face up, and now that was settled, she asked the person who was looking at her from above to get down and face her now, which he did willingly so, and looking at him closer, Luna was caught off guard, since she didn't expect the peeping bastard was a boss-level monster, while Slayer was amazed that she actually spotted him. With this, they were both hesitant in facing each other, since they know fighting each other would be costly and challenging, so it would not be worth it. Surprisingly, as they were thinking what their next move will be, a multitude of players materialized out of nowhere, surrounding them both, and it seems like they were divided into two groups. One side is targeting Luna due to her decapitating the egghead, while the other was a raiding party intent on defeating Slayer, and with no other choice, they knew exactly what to do next, so they simultaneously launched themselves at each other, only to split up at the last second, and went behind the party who was not targeting them, and because of this, the group ignored them, so the two of them successfully escaped. Not long after, both of the parties realized what happened, so they both decided to chase their targets at the same time. Because of this, the two parties crashed on each other unintentionally. Still, they won't move out of the way for no one, so the two groups try to force their way through, but to their surprise, this was a premeditated crime all along, as Luna and Slayer went back and gave them the two-piece, and started violating them on all angles. And seeing such spectacle, the players were in panic, so even if they have allies within the ranks, they started blasting, but this only made things worse, as it caused a domino effect, in which they were fighting each other instead of their own respective targets. Still, the high-level ones survived, and they were hoping that they managed to kill their targets, but to their dismay, it wasn't what they hoped for, and Slayer activated his edge of the hunt, killing them all non-stop, like a perpetual motion killing machine. With this, the number of players he killed amounted to 999. Coincidentally, Luna was still alive, and looking for another player may take some time, so it seems like fighting her is inevitable. So without hesitations they both leaped at each other to end this, and just like that, the system congratulated Slayer for completing the random achievement task. A few moments later, somewhere in the real world, a white-haired girl on a wheelchair is enjoying the view of the sea, and that girl is none other than Luna, and it seems like she is from a wealthy family, considering the fact that she got her made from the Courage Cowardly dog. And her VR headset looks insanely cool, but I digress. Her real name is Bai Xiaoyu, from the Bai family, and the maid is informing her that her parents is calling her for dinner. However, she isn't planning on joining them now, since she just met an interesting boss, so she went to her quarters instead, and wrote a rough estimate about the things she might knew about the boss she encountered, so she could defeat that bony son of a gun. Meanwhile, as Slayer was going through the portal, the random achievement tome detected that he has completed his mission of killing 100 players, and therefore it gave him a reward, a mythical tier item, the enchanted divine earrings, which allows the holder to transform their own race, and after transformation, the holder will gain race-specific appearance, race-specific passive talent, mastery of its language. With this, he was contented to receive a worthy reward for his efforts, since this item has both great applicability and functionality. And then, a system interface popped up, congratulating Slayer for completing the Stormcloud catastrophe, and with his amazing performance, the system has settled to reward him 1,000 contribution points, and a crazy amount of experience points, leveling him up to level 21. And with this, he acquired yet another skill, the Rending Burst Blade, which allows him to enhance his next basic attack, dealing 180% of physical damage to the target, while ignoring 20% of the target's physical defense. There's also a 20% chance to inflict the target with bleeding status. Soon after, he stepped out of the portal, which he was greeted by the loud cheers of the countless of crowds, who has seen what he just did, Even the commentators were impressed seeing that he achieves a record of killing 1,000 players. So, it is obvious that he is truly deserving of the title Rising Star of the Storm Cloud. But this amazing accomplishment also garnered the hate of others, which Slayer took notice, as the idiot couldn't look him in the eyes. Not that he has one. Still, he couldn't care less about him, so he redirected his attention toward the baddie in front of him, who was also recognizing his dependability, as he hadn't embarrassed her, which made her quite delighted, resulting in a genuine smile. And now that she sees him to be worthy of her time, she waved her hands, suddenly opening a portal, and told Slayer to follow her, which he did willingly so. And now they entered one of the secret realms, the Blood Moon City's evolutionary blood pool, which confused Slayer upon looking at it, because there is nothing about it in the game he designed, so he was wondering what is really going on. But his train of thought was interrupted by Wii asking him if he had a clue about the reason why. Even though Blood Claw's level was adjusted to the same level as his, he was able to easily defeat others, to which Slayer responded confidently, explaining that he knew the reason, and it was because of bloodline. Just like equipment has different qualities, each monster's attribute varies greatly due to bloodline differences, and his bloodline is the lowest. And seeing that they are talking about bloodlines, Slayer asks if the place they are standing right now is related to breaking through bloodline attributes, to which she responded that it is exactly what he assumed, and this is one of the secret realms under her jurisdiction, and since she acknowledged his worth, he can now pick any area that he would like to jump in. But before that, she reminds him to not get his hopes up, since his evolutions still depend on his luck. Meanwhile, in the Blood Moon City's North Hall, Shuang is having a tantrum, thinking about how Wii just disrespected him in front of a crowd, so his blood keeps on boiling in rage. Still, this wouldn't happen if it weren't for that useless brat from the Lion Clan, fueling his anger even more. And seeing that this might get out of control, one of his advisor that was beside him tries to calm him down, and tells him that he shouldn't be this furious, cause this might not be such a bad thing. After all, the Lion Clan has always intended to be on good terms with him, and through this incident, they saw that he is willing to get hurt to protect their descendants, so he concluded that this will surely strengthen their loyalty towards him. But even after all of that, Shuang admitted to his advisor that he can't swallow his anger, and it's really getting on his nerve of how uncomfortable it is. In response, the advisor offered a suggestion, a more indirect way to provoke Wii. Although they couldn't directly harm her, there were alternative methods. He leaned in, whispering the plan discreetly to Shuang, and upon hearing all of it, a wicked grin spread across Shuang's face, as he decided to proceed with the advisor's plan. A few moments later, Slayer had already dipped himself on the pool of blood, and was now in the process of evolution, while Wu-Yu was observing his progress, which she can't help but be fascinated at him, as Slayer's absorption speed is quite fast, and this could only mean that Slayer's potential is quite high. However, her train of thought was disrupted by someone calling out her name, and so she turns around, only to see the City Lord's mansion Black Death Guards, asking her to come with them, since the City Lord has given them an order, summoning her to the main city immediately. Still, she wasn't going to just agree with them that easily, and she is quite busy right now, so she asks them to wait until she is free. However, they are not her underlings, and so they are not planning to follow her as she pleases, and so the captain takes up the City Lord's Blood Summon Decree, and upon the issuance of the Blood Summon Decree, the recipient must immediately present themselves to the City Lord, and those who disobey shall be executed without mercy. With this, she doesn't have a choice but to go with them. But before she leaves Slayer behind, she told a cryptic message, informing him about how there are occasional rock falls in the nearby mountain, so he should look out for that, to avoid getting crushed accidentally. After that, she leaves with the guards. With this, the captain couldn't help himself but smile, as everything is according to their plan. A few moments later, Wii and the guards had completely left Slayer all alone. However, it appeared that the progress of his evolution was about to reach a conclusion, as the blood around him had increased and was now enveloping his entire body. Soon after, he was nowhere to be seen as the blood had completely covered him. But this was also the moment the others had been waiting for, since it is the time when Slayer couldn't cancel his evolution process and is vulnerable to attacks. And so, the lower commander of the Shadow Squad signaled his subordinates to attack, which they didn't skip a beat to do just that. However, Little did they know, Slayer's absorption was faster than they expected, and so he awoken, and was more than willing to school these fools on what skill gap is about. At the same time, Wu Yu and the guards are now hiking up the mountain, which the captain happily grins as he see a powerful entity like Wu Yu can't do anything but be obedient when she saw the blood summoning order. But to his surprise, Wu Yu suddenly decided to stop following them, and just sit on a rock, and so he asked her what is the meaning of this sudden rest. However, she doesn't feel the need to explain herself to him, as she just enjoyed the view of her blood pool, where few nosy bugs are racing each other to kill Slayer first, in order to get the credit, and so the fastest one has managed to slice where Slayer was resting, and so the spherical blood formation had broken up, and now they just stood there waiting for the remains of their target, but to their surprise, Slayer was still in one piece, which confuses the assassins since they obviously had cut it down, and even the one who did it felt his attack connected. Still, seeing that their target was standing, they didn't hesitate to make sure this mother flipper deceased, but as soon as they got a closer look on their target, shock fills their eyes, as they realized that Slayer had completed his evolution, and came out smoking hot, and so they are now questioning their sexuality. But even before they could react, Slayer had decapitated them both, while the lower commander was shocked to see he completed his evolution as well. But still, they gotta get things done, and so he commanded his subordinates to attack together, which they immediately did, and with teamwork, they launched a coordinated attack, but Slayer just simply took a step back to dodge it, cause these little dudes were slow as heck, and what's even more surprising is that he had violated them without them even noticing, as Slayer is now on a whole nother level. They didn't even realize they were dead, not until they saw their heart in Slayer's hand, completely shocking them all, but the lower commander can't have that. He can't let that disrespect slide, and so he attacks Slayer with everything that he has, and with each strike, he embed his blade with a powerful aura that multiplies his strength. However, Slayer is on demon time right now, so he easily dodges them all, and Slayer proved to be a total menace, as he doesn't even take this fight seriously at all. He's even smiling deviously while doing that light-skinned stare. With this, the lower commander realized he was done, so he easily took some damage from Slayer without resistance, completely tearing off his left arm, leaving him no choice but to step back and think about his life choices, wondering where it all went wrong. All the information given to him about Slayer has misled him, but even if he realized this, he can't just dip out of here. He has to kill Slayer, since this mission was trusted to him by Zhuang, and he is not willing to tarnish his master's name, and so he summoned the other hidden assassin to his aid, to complete their mission with everything on the line, which they fully understood. Therefore they performed a ritual to boost the bottom commander, giving him an immense power that buffed his overall abilities, and he even regenerated a limb because of this, and was now looking to kill Slayer, while Slayer remained calm, as bottom commander is still a idiot in his eyes, and to prove this, he willingly throws himself towards the enemy's range, and as soon as he got close, he reverted back to his skeleton form, which made the commander think Slayer's evolution was failing, in turn making him confident to win this match, and so, he continued to strike, but to his surprise, Slayer easily dodged it.
Wait a minute. Why hasn't the energy from my fist transferred into his head yet? Wait, he ducked? Literally how? I put so much speed and force into this. I couldn't even imagine dodging something like this on such short notice. He had to have already known exactly what angle and speed I would be coming from. I'll just pull back and catch him with a follow-up attack. Okay, I literally can't pull my hand back. The inertia is crazy.
And during his enemy's momentum, Slayer took this chance to turn back to his demon form and decapitate the commander. With this, shock can be shown on the bottom commander's face as he saw his own body without a head. Meanwhile, on the side, Wu Yu applauded Slayer's performance, delighted to see that his harvest went quite smoothly. Slayer then asked if these assassins were from Zhuang, to which she confirmed. Even the guards who took her were connected to Zhuang, but she had already sent them away. With this information, Slayer realized that she knew what their motives were from the start, and so he asked her if this was his second test. However, as he approached her suddenly, the view became more clear. She noticed that he was quite well equipped down there, and so she was looking at it more than she should, which embarrassed Slayer, causing him to hide it from her. Surprisingly, she was quite thirsty and commanded him to take his hands off right this instant. With that settled, She told him that she was quite satisfied with his performance, and so she asked what he wanted, as she could grant him one wish.
Yeah, boy.
But my man is not horny, as he only wants one thing, and that is to know where his brother is. So he asks Wu Yu the whereabouts of Hanny Xiao, which made her sigh as she brought the bad news to him, that he was already gone. Hit that like button and thanks for watching.